import the data. Anything that you want to know here? Anybody? Okay, I'll take it as a no. So now I'll just have, yes, Yuri.
So let's clear. So in order to create a user, you need to have the admin, the IP address, and the admin password. The admin password, and usually FSE do it. Is it correct?
Sorry, Yuri, like the admin password that you're asking, like how I logged in, admin
What?
IT underscore.
No, who can create a user? Is it so? In order to create a user, you need the IP address and the admin password and account, which is general. Is it correct?
As far as I know, when the FSC law, you're asking me, right? As far as I know,
Okay,
like when you,
okay,
yeah, the FSC, I think he must be able to do it, and
okay.
post that, the radiologist or the doctor, whoever is doing it, they should be able to create the users.
So we share the admin ID and password with the users also, not only the FSC.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. And is it any user or admin user or
That
because
while
somebody?
I did not explain that, because the reason is, when I created in the PMT, you saw that we had 7 checkbox, right? So every user group has a few rights. Like I didn't want to go to that level, so that's why I did not explain that. So when I checked it, I checked only few. Like wait, I'll
Okay.
probably show it. Yeah, again, 1 second. If I come here, if I click on this user, so if you see these groups, right? So every group has a particular, see, if I just click on the IT, there are few operations that I'll not be able to do it in our
Yeah.
portal. So in general, I would select all the credentials. So this I'm not very sure, like in hospital, I think only the admin and the doctors will
I
have all the
believe
credentials.
so.
Yeah, so maybe
I believe so because somebody need to control it, and
exactly, yeah,
we
the
cannot give
control. Mm,
radiologist or
correct,
a
correct.
clinical user credential to somebody who.
Yes,
Okay.
since we are
Thank
verifying it, we have all the rights. So we click it and we create a user. But whereas in the hospital, I don't think so. Everybody will have this. Ideally, like how they buy it is what I feel it depends on. Maybe only the administration, I mean the administrative person and the doctor might have all the rights. Remaining all, I think it depends on how they create the user. Maybe only the clinical thing or the radiology thing only they might have in general. That's what I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we have something called as demo data sets. These are all clinically used data sets. In general, why we use these data sets is that, like, in case when we get a issue from field, to make sure that the defect is a real defect, so we generally cross check with our demo data sets. So let me use the demo data sets only for you to give a demo. So today it will be on MMV and MR applications. Why I say MMV is that all the MR applications, I mean, all the MR data sets, we have a modality called as MR. So all the MR data sets in general, we will first view it in the multimodality viewer. Here we have two tabs. One is review and one is analysis. The review applications are, it's only for the viewing purpose. If you see here, I mean, when you click on the drop down, if you see here, it will be CT viewer, CT cardiac viewer, multi-function review, multi-modality viewer, and NM viewer. So for all the MR applications, you will usually load the data set into multi-modality viewer. So I will tell you. When I come to MR applications, I will tell you how to see the data and recognize the data, and how it will be, I mean, what kind of data sets can be used for each application. But now I'm just selecting one MR data. How do you know its MR is? In portal, can you see this blue headlines, right? Right click that headline and click on the modality. So you will have the modality tab here and you will see MR. So this is one of the MR data. So when I click on this data, at the bottom, you will see the study. This is called as a study. This study will have this many series. So these are the below series. So as soon as I click on the study, all the below series will be selected by default. So once this blue highlighter shows, I mean, highlighted here, it means it has four series and all the four series are selected by default. So once this four series are selected, you can just click this drop down and select multimodality viewer. And please, anybody can stop me if you're not able to understand, or in case if I'm too fast. And one more information is when, let me tell you. This entire page, this screen, we call it as PD, patient directory. Okay, in short form, we call it as PD. So I loaded this data. This data has four series. By default, when you load to multimodality viewer, the layout that gets displayed is 2 cross 2. So this is the layout. Just give me a second. I'll keep it down. Okay. So this is the default layout that gets displayed in MMV. So it's generally used for viewing purpose. So once you place the data here, it can be any series. For example, I'll take the first series now. If you double click it, second, it becomes a tabbed view. Tabbed view in sense all the four series will be in a tabbed view. Like the first would be the first series, second would be the second series, goes on like that. Towards your left hand side, you will see something called as a PI. This is called as a pictorial index, where whatever series are there in the study will be displayed in the pictorial index. Okay, so in short form, we call it as PI. And each index will indicate that the series name and a series number. This is a series number and the series name. And when you cross over your mouse over the series, you will see the details of the scanned series. I'm sorry. So can you see that? Like these are the details of the series that gets displayed here. So in general, when you have a data loaded into MMV, one second. The basic operations I'll tell you, and then I would explain you what are the other links used here. So now I have four series got displayed here. So here what the basic operations that in general that you want to do is like you will see few icons got displayed towards your left hand side. This is called as a task guidance. In this task guidance, the generic operations are the first one is save, film, report, and bookmark. And below that you have something called a scroll, pan, zoom, and windowing. And below that, you have measurements. A normal line, it's a ROI, it's a pixel, and it's a text measurement. And this is a quality indicator. Okay, so like I'll show you what happens when I do each operations. So for example, I have this image. I can just place click on it, click on the line. I'm just placing a line measurement. I'm selecting this ROI. I'm placing a ROI. And I want to save an image. So when you click on this drop down, there are two options. One is save display and save selected. When you click on save display, the entire screen would be saved as a display. This is a box that pops up when you click on save display. So you can give any description here, and you have two options here. One as DICOM and one as non-DICOM. DICOM, below DICOM, you will have something called a secondary capture. It means it will save the image as a photo. I'm just giving as DSMV. Any name can be given. As soon as I save here, you will see the image getting displayed on my pictorial index. So this is the image that I saved here. I mean, since I selected, it got displayed here. So the next option is save selected. So you have to select a box. I'm selecting this box and I have to go to save selected. Selecting on save selected. Same way you can give any name, secondary MV. Same way it will be displayed here as and when I'm saving the images. So that is for save. Next one is film. Same way you can just click on the drop down. It will show you film selected images, film display, and film selected series. So film display will, once I click on the film display, on top, can you see a similar icon as film? Click on the film icon and you will see the image that I sent for film would have come here. This is the image that I sent for film. Same way, I'm selecting one series. I'm giving it as film selected image. Go here. So this would be my film selected image. Same way as for reporting tab. Send selected image to report, send display to report, send results to report. Send selected image to report. So I can select one image, click on send selected image to report, and you see a similar icon on top. Click on that icon. This is the reporting tab. Before selecting anything, see this is the study that you're using. This is the same study as displayed here. Click on this drop down, click on the summary images. You will see the image that you sent to report.
Could you please show what the intended functionality of the film is? So you now showed how you make it, but why would you use that?
1 second. So once I perform filming, it depends upon how, in general in hospital, they might want to take a report, I mean, filming of our whatever scans that they have taken, right? Like be it a radiologist or a doctor, they might have placed the ROIs or the measurements, what they want to do, and they would have sent it to filming and they would take a scan out of it, right? You got it? It was Franca, right? I'm not very sure who
Yes,
asked it.
yes. It was me.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was Frank
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm still trying to really understand why you do filming. Is it because you want to put several pictures
No,
like
not
as a
like that.
film, or I'm confused maybe by the term?
Maybe, yeah, maybe, but it is just not that, but they will do a printing of it. We have something called as DICOM printer as well with this. So we will take a printout of it. Ideally, we can take a printout. Right? That is the ideal functionality, right? In the hospital or the radiologist, whoever wants to perform it, they would make measurements. Here, it is generic that I'm saying this is a measurement that I've placed, but in general, they might want to do whatever performance that they have to do it on the image. They might do that and they can send it to film and they visually want to see it, they can print it out and see it, right?
To be able to print it, you have to go
Yeah.
via the filming. Okay.
Yes, to print it. To print
Okay.
it. This is just an example that I had drew a line, but ideally, I mean, I can, if you take this data, there is something wrong here. So the doctor or the radiologist might place a ROI here to understand what is wrong or the measurement specific to that. They would do that. Get the, I mean, send it to filming or reporting. In the filming, they might print it out and want to see it more, whatever, clearly or however they want it. In general, to print the results, I mean, to take the film of the sent copies of the series.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So the reporting is also the same. So reporting also the same way you can send the selected data and the display. Send display to report. The same way it will be sent to report. So both the images are here. And this icon showed here is called as a bookmark icon. So the bookmark is generally to save a particular, for example, like if I'm a radiologist, I'm working on this particular 4 series. Like I have placed all these 4 series. I have placed few measurements, pixels, whatever I want, I have placed it. I want to bookmark this. I can click on this. This is a dialog box opens. I can give a name and say it as save a bookmark. So once I do this, when you click on your PD, patient directory, for that study, you will see it here that the bookmark is saved. It's because now I can exit the study, and when I reload the bookmark, I will get the same place where I left it. So now I'm just exiting the study. So I have created one bookmark here. So I'll click this, double click on the bookmark. So I will load it to the same place where I had saved with measurements, pixel and all. So you will be able to see the same thing loaded back. That is the actual functionality of a bookmark. So this is what I had saved. So when I click on the bookmark, so this is what I will be reloaded back with. So there is another functionality also, which is called as key images. So probably I'll exit. So I can change my layout. Like for example, I can select this and I can make it as 1x1. So everything will become in a tabbed view. I can just say right click, close all, and whatever series that you want to be, I mean, you wish to view it, you can just select the series and drag drop it. So I selected this 10,1 and I just dragged and dropped it on the viewer. So like if I want to place a different series, I can simply just select it, drag drop it. So when I drag drop another series, it will ask me for this many options. So do you want it to open and replace, or you want it as a tabbed view? In general, just focus on these two. So if you want to replace the existing series that is displayed, just click on the first option. Or if you want it as a tabbed view, then it will be a tabbed view. So for example, I click on the first option, open and replace. So ideally, the 10.1 series will be replaced by 6,1 series. I'm just changing to a different view. So I can place another series here. So I'm just placing a ROI here. I am trying to save a bookmark. So when you click on the particular series, do a right click, something called as this, we call it as a context menu. So the context menu is nothing but whatever options you have it here on the task guidance, those options will also be displayed here. You can either do it from here, or you can also do those scroll and pan zoom options from here as well. So why I did this is to do a uh, key image saving. So I can select on mark display as key image, and I'm doing one more, mark image as key image. It means the difference is when I do a display, it means both the series were selected as a key image. When I selected one particular series, only that particular series was selected as a key image. Where do you actually see this after doing it is, can you see this series tab here? When you click on this, you will see the key images tab here. So click on the key images, you will see the key images that I selected has popped up here. So once this comes, you can keep it here, or either you, if you want to save it, you can also click on this. Similar dialog box will pop up. You can save it giving a name, test key. So once my key images are saved, same way as I did for the bookmark, go to your PD. Above your series tab, images tab, you will see something called as key images tab. Click on the key image tab. And you will see the key image that I saved here. How do you view it? Is right click, you have to give a quick review. It is called as a kin viewer. Kin viewer is specifically for viewing the key images. So whatever image that I saved here, it shows two images. Just do a horizontal scroll. You will see both the images, front and forward. Sorry, backward and forward. Any doubts so far? Anything that you want to know? I mean, there are a few more things on MMV, but so far, like any doubts or questions that you want to know? Anybody?
No, not for me.
To link two images from two series.
I'll tell you that that's what I'm going to come next. I just wanted to finish off the basics of viewing the images and what you do in MMV. So next I will come to that. Yes, I mean, somebody else also, I don't know, someone asked something, I'm not sure. Franca or somebody asked, somebody was about to ask something.
No, I said it was clear for me.
Okay.
No question.
Just give me a second, 1 minute. Okay, so you wanted to know how do the images gets linked, right? Okay. So shall I show it with, okay. So in general, now I'll just drag drop the series. I'll tell you what happens after dragging and dropping the 4 main series. Sorry, I don't know the name who had asked because I'll not be able to see it. So, okay, Usman. So Usman, like I just drag drop the series, right? Like I had the 4 default series when the study was loaded. So these were the 4 series that I drag drop. In general, in MMV, how the linking works is when two series have the same frame of reference, we call it as FOR. When you have the same frame of reference, by default, the two series will be linked. Linked is how is that? This, can you see this link here?
Yes.
So this link will be shown on the images that has the same frame of reference and they are linked. For example, these two series are linked. Can you see the link for on both the series?
So when this same type of series, then only it will be
I,
having this image, that is linking image.
wait, I will tell you how it happens. See, now I have four series here. Okay. So the in out of these four series, these two are linked. How do they get linked? The main background of this linking is both the series will have the same frame of reference. I'll show you how it is checked. So when the series have the same frame of reference, automatically ISP will do the linking from the background. The reason is I'll tell you why it is done. In the below, if you see, there are two more series, but they are not linked because this series is in the sagittal view. This we call it as this view is in the sagittal view, and this is a coronal view. Obviously, these two series, even if they are in the different view, I think definitely they'll not have the same frame of reference. That's why it is not linked. Okay, and the reason I'll tell you why it is linked. For example, now I'm right click. I'm going to do a pan. So I'm doing a pan operation. Can you see both the series will be pan together? So whatever operations you perform, like be it pan, be it zoom, be it scroll, except the measurements, any operations that you perform, it will be done on both the series because you have a link to both of the series. How do you unlink it? If you go click on this, can you see there is a broken kind of symbol shown?
Yes.
It means the series is unlinked. So now these two are not linked. So when I'm doing a pan, only this will be panned. The other series will not be panned. So again, if I go click it back, it will be linked. So again, when I do a pan, it will be panned. So same applies to the operations. Operation sense when you do a pan, scroll, zoom, windowing, but not for the measurements. When I place a measurement, it is only for this particular series, no matter it is linked or not linked. Okay, I'll tell you how it is. See, go to the PD. One second. Go to the PD, select the series. So these were the two series which are linked, right? So right click the series, go to view diagram, click on FRAME frame. You will have something called as UI frame of reference UID. So just copy that. Copy it, put it in the notepad. Same way, select the other series, right click, view diagram, FRAME frame. Copy it. Put it in the notepad. So now if you see the frame for both the series, the frame of reference UID, the number would be same. Since this is same, the linking automatically happens in the MMV. This is how actually you check it, Usman.
Okay.
Got it, right?
Yes.
So there are chances. See, like for example, this study. See, since I've taken this study, sorry, one second. I clicked on OK. These two are in the same view, like we have it in the axial view. These two are in the different view. Okay, but there are chances, even if they are in the different view, they might be linked. The reason is because of the frame of reference. Okay, so when you have the same frame of reference, the series would be automatically linked when you load it to MMV. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so any other questions in MMV? Any other doubts, questions? I have just told gist of MMV because it's a huge thing. There are so many things to be discussed, but these are the basic things. So that I think for now, I think this should be good. Like once you log in, what all the things that you have to see and perform hands-on, I think this should be enough for you all. So any doubts so far?
And when you are two images are linked, actually, at the time when you are going to scroll the images also, they also will
Hmm.
scroll simultaneously.
Yes,
Right?
see, I will, yes, I will
Okay.
show you. I'm doing a scroll. Can you
Ah,
see it?
yes.
In your, I mean, I'm not doing a mouse scroll, but I'm doing a keyboard scroll, like your upward vertical arrows, upward and downward. So when I'm doing an upward, it goes upward and downward. The basic four operations like your pan, scroll, zoom, and your windowing will be always linked if you see this symbol. Okay?
Okay. And windowing also will be linked. Windowing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can you see the windowing L and W is
Yes.
changing
Yes.
when I scroll it up and down? So unless and if I break this link, it will not be affected. So now when I do a scroll, only my selected series will be scrolled. Okay?
But when WC is window center, right? So with W, I can see both in the center of position. So one just now you have shown that one is I can pay in a different way. That is, am I right?
Sorry.
Oh, WC is window center, right? WC. One is WL.
WC.
One is WL.
This is W and L.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another is a WC, right? Windows center.
Windows Center. I don't know that, Usman. I'm really not sure. As far as I know, it's only WNL.
No.
I mean, you have three options in the DICOM: window length, window width, window center. Yes, you're
Yes,
right.
yes, yes. Cell.
Yeah, in DICOM you have all the three options.
Okay, okay.
No,
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you're asking here. Here it is only W and L will be displayed. But when you go to the DICOM, when you read the images details in the DICOM, you have three options: window length, window width, window center.
Yes.
But here it will be only L and W displayed. I mean, I was thinking that you're asking C will also be displayed. See, center will not be displayed here.
Okay. That's
Only the window length and the window width. So any other questions as of now? Okay. So let me tell you about the MR applications then. For this is just, I mean, as I told you, this is just like gist of MMV to play around. How do you view it? What are the basic operations that you can do it? So maybe like once that is done, and if you have, there are many other things to be done, but this is just a gist of it, so that once you have a hands-on experience, I think you will get to know many other things. Usman, any other queries you have in MMV?
no, no.
No, right? Okay, fine. Okay. So let me go to the PD. Okay, so as I told you, this is a review application, multimodality. So now I will tell you about MR applications. In MR, the application that we loaded to analyze the study for the MR applications will be displayed under the analysis tab. So once you click the analysis tab, you will see a header called as MR. Under MR, these are the applications listed here. So basically, now today I will try to cover at least 3 to 4 applications, mainly diffusion, fMRI, T1, and permeability. So each application has its own functionalities. I will not go very clinical in depth, but I will just say the functionalities of each application. Okay, and I will tell you how to know that this particular study is applicable for this particular application. So first, maybe we will take fMRI application. This is called as MR iView Bold. It has another name called as MR Brain Function or fMRI application. fMRI is nothing but functional MRI scan. So this generally stands for loading your brain scanned studies into this application. The basic functionalities I will tell you after loading it. And first I will tell you how do you recognize the series in the study for this application. Few. Okay, let me come back to the PD first. This demo folder has very limited data sets. Ideally, it should have around 280 some change data sets, but I think it's not complete demo data sets. It's only very limited. So sorry, like even I missed to check that. So anyways, I have a data. So I would try to explain you a few applications with these data sets. So now to recognize the data sets, like for MR applications, especially for the brain function, fMRI application, the application generally handles with the brain data set, brain scan studies. So that application usually what it does is in hospital when a person is undergoing an MRI brain scan, the person would be lying down and he would be asked to do a hand movement or a right hand movement, left hand movement, motor movements, like we call it as right hand and left hand movement, visual in sense like he would have asked to read something and take a scan. So when they take a scan, they would name it in this way, like fMRI underscore TR3 underscore hand. It means that this is something related to the hand movement of the patient. Okay, so in general, to identify this, you can load the series into MMV. I have already loaded it. And to load the series into fMRI, the series should have minimum of 20 dynamics. 20 dynamics is nothing but when I double click the first series, can you see uh, on the image, there are details on the image here. So the first thing is the series dataset name, and the second one is your patient ID, and this one is your patient whether he's a male or a female. So it indicates M, it means he's a male. So then is your study date, I mean date of birth, study date. All those details will be displayed here. And the last option, if you see, is something called as dynamics. Dynamics are nothing but when the scan is taken. So when the protocol is set in the scanning center, they would set that protocol in such a way the scan has 20 dynamics and more. So if you don't have 20 dynamics and more, this particular series, we will not be able to load it into fMRI application. How do you load it? There are two ways to load it. Either you can load it from the PD. PD is something here, or you can also load it from MMV. I'll show you both the ways how to load it. From MMV, I'll tell you how to load it. You have already selected the series in your pictorial index. Right click the series, select on launch application. Your application windows will open. Select the MR iView bold. So can you see something called as MR iView Bolt? So this is how the application looks like, and the series, that particular series which I loaded, 6,1, has been loaded to the MR iView Bolt application. Now I will just exit and I will show you how do you load it from PD. The same series is selected here on the PD. Click the, since I've already loaded, by default it is getting displayed here, but in general it will not be here. So once you select the series, you have to click the drop down, select MR iView Bolt. This is how the application looks when you load it to the fMRI application. So the basic functionality is, what happens when you do a brain scan, and after doing a brain scan, how do you see the activations when the particular scan is done. So that is what we'll be doing here. So I will not explain in depth of the clinical process, but I will just tell you the functionality that we perform here. So once the data is loaded, we have to create something called as paradigms. Okay, so how do you create the paradigms? Before that, I will just tell you what is the left side and the top tools. So the left side is nothing but as similar, we call it as the task guidance. On top, if you see, these are the measurement, the basic measurement boxes here, like your scroll, zoom, pan, windowing, measurements, same thing. The ones which we saw in MMV towards your left hand side, the same operations will be displayed on top, and towards your rightmost corner you will have the same film, report and bookmark. The same thing will be displayed here as well. Your first thing is nothing but your task guidance. The second small boxes is nothing but your pictorial index. The third one is your key image. The fourth one is your bookmarks. So what the basic functionality, I'll tell you what we do actually here. So once the data is loaded, can you see the three dots here? Click on the three dots, go to manage paradigms, click on new. You will have two options here. One is called as block paradigm with dynamics in seconds, and one is called as event paradigms. I will tell you how to create a block paradigm first. By default, block will be selected and dynamics will be selected. This can be dynamics or you can change it to seconds as well. So by default, I'm keeping it as dynamics. So you can give any name. How do you create it? So once I give a name, below you see a drop down called as task. So when you click on the task, you will have two options. One is rest and one is task. It's nothing but you're giving some functionality to your brain. So the task is you're giving some functionality for your brain and you're giving a rest. So first I will specify a task. Second, I will give rest. Can you see something called as, a 10 phase dynamic is colored, right? It's nothing but by default, the dynamics will be accumulated as 10. So my task will run for 10 dynamics, my rest will run for 10 dynamics. So this will be repeated across the scan to see the brain activation. So now I have just given one task and one rest. So when I click save, close, I have created one paradigm. So where you will find this? In your task guidance, the fourth option, can you see like there's something called as block paradigm. So in this block paradigm, this is the default block paradigm. Select it, whatever I created there will be here. So when you select the B1, the task is selected here. Now I will select on compute SPM. So when I'm selecting the compute SPM, SPM stands for statistical parametric maps. It's nothing but, I'm not able to show it. 1 second. So when I selected compute SPM, at the background, the algorithm will run and the activations will be computed on your series. So I will show you. Wanted a big activations. They are very small. Just give me 1 second. Okay. The same thing I did, but with another series. So now I computed the SPMs. So when I click on compute SPM, at the background, the algorithm will run and you will see the activations getting displayed. Can you see the color kind of orangish red? These are nothing but these are the activations that is got displayed on your brain for the paradigm that I have created. That is for the task that I've given. And this is the activations that is got created and it gets displayed on the image. So once this is done, same way you can have the basic operations like save, film, report, bookmark. The same way like what I did on MMV, if you save it, it'll be displayed on the PD as well as in your PI. Your film, I mean, if you want, I can do it and show film, send screen, send selected. Same way with the report, same way with the bookmark. So these are the basic operations. This is how you will compute an SPM, and these are the basic operation of the FMRA application. So any doubts so far? Functionality is only this much. I mean, this much in sense like if I go in depth, it will be like too much. But the basic functionality is only this. Like you have to create a paradigm, you have to compute the SPMs, and one more thing, how do you save it? There is something called as Save SPM. Click on the box, a small dialog box opens. I will give a name of my choice. Click on Save SPM. So once I click on Save, if you go to PD, it will be saved. It will be displayed. Whatever name you have given, that will be displayed here.
Question.
Yes, you can.
How the user select which dynamics are REST and which dynamics are task?
That's up to the user, I believe. Like maybe it, see, like for example, I just created only one paradigm, right? I can create
Yeah.
n number of paradigms like with 20, 30, 40, anything. Usually what I'll do is like I'll create like this P2.
Is
It's
there
up to,
is
no, it's
there
not
any
like that.
indication when
No,
it's more? No, okay. As I
nothing. Like
understand, and correct me if another the second question. As I understand, the map is on top of the task. Yes, is it correct?
uh, no, it's sorry, come again. What was the last statement you made?
The map, the colors, is on top of which of the rest or of the task?
It's like it, see, like the first one, the B1 which I created was a task and rest, right? So now, for example, in B2, I can also give rest. Like the first 10 dynamics can be plain rest, and the next 10 dynamics can be a task. It's
Okay.
how the radiologist or how they want it to be. It's just a trial. Like from our end, we can have multiple dynamics like this. However we want, we can create it.
Understand. Okay.
I just created only one. I mean, just to keep it simple, I just created only paradigm with just one task. So similarly, we can create it with 20, 30 dynamics also. Like if I create. So now I've created with 40 dynamics. So I'll give save, close. So same thing will be displayed here. Click on it. So my both the task will be like a tabbed view. So one for R and one for L. So then click on compute SPMs. So the computation will happen and it will get displayed. So this is how it will be.
Okay.
I think it's up to the person who's creating it, Uri. However they want, they will create it with only with
Yeah.
task also they can create, only specifying rest also they can create. However they want it, they can create it.
Okay.
Okay. So any doubts so far here? This is the basic functionality of this application. Like you have to just create, compute, save the SPM, and save film, report, bookmark, and key images. Any questions here in FMRI application?
No.
Okay. No, no, right? Okay. So I will show you how it does not load a different series. Six comma one. Okay. As I told you, like if the series does not have more than 20 dynamics, it will not be loaded into FMRI application, right? So I have another series here. I will try to load that series into FMRI application. Let's see what happens. So can you see there is one pop-up message getting displayed at the background? Let me just see, the selected series is less than 20 dynamic time points, so this selection is invalid. So when there are many chances that you get cases from field saying that, see, I'm not able to load the study into FMRI. So when such cases comes, first you have to load the study into MMV, take the series, drag drop the series like this, drag drop the series to your MMV and see if the series has 20 dynamics or not. This series does not have the name as DT at all. So obviously the series will not load to FMRI. So that is your first basic check for such applications. So when they say the series is not loading to applications, you have to load the series into MMV and cross check. First thing is whether the series is a dynamic scan. If it is a dynamic scan, if that series has 20 dynamics, how do you cross check? Load it into MMV, load the series. Uh, sorry. 6,1. This is our valid series. How do you check it? You see DT as 0. So the first dynamic is 0. In your keyboard, you have to do a horizontal scroll. I'm doing a horizontal scroll. So if you see, the number changes and there is a slight change in the image as well. So if you count, there'll be more than 20 dynamics. I'm not counting it because there'll be more. But can you see the change on the image and the dynamics?
Yes.
So this is how you will verify. So there are more than 20 dynamics. And that is why I was able to load the series, and this is a valid series. So when you don't have the proper dynamics, there are chances you will have dynamics, but still you will not have 20 dynamics. You will hardly have 2 dynamics. And when, like for example, DT0, DT3, DT6, only 3 dynamics are there, but still there are 3 dynamics, and they say I'm not able to load the series to fMRI. Obviously it will not load because you don't have 20 dynamics to load the data to the application. So that is a basic criteria for the series to be loaded to fMRI application. So far, any doubts? How to check the dynamics, how to load the data to fMRI. The basic functionality on fMRI is only that, but there are many other things, but I don't think so. You have to know all those things, but these are the basic things. Can I go ahead with the next application?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, okay, so I would use the same data as well. I'll show it on the PD. And there is one more trick. It's just that I mean to know. In general, when you select a series, like forget all this derived series. These are all that I saved it. Okay. So this study had this first 4 series, right? So in a study, we have 2 types of series. One we call it as functional series, and another one we call it as a anatomical series. Forget about the anatomical series for now. Let's focus on only the functional series. Functional series are nothing but the series that we use for each application. For now, the series that I used for fMRI, they are all functional series. In MR, there is one more trick to identify the series is nothing but usually MR studies will be huge and the particular functional series will also be huge number of images. For example, if you take these two, the fMRI hand and fMRI TAL, these two series, if you see, there are 2560 images. So this also indicates these are functional series which can be loaded into functional application. Okay. So now I'll go to another application called, it's called as diffusion. In the drop down, if you see, this is called as MR diffusion application. Basically, you in fMRI, the main um, type of data that we use is mostly 99%, it's only the brain scans. But in diffusion, there are 3 types of scans that can be used. One is brain scan, one is prostate, and one is abdomen scans. But now the study that I'm using is a brain scan. So obviously, the series that gets loaded to this application will be a brain scan. So in this series, the third one, 1001 with the image 3127 with the name DTI, this series is applicable for MR diffusion application. I'll tell you what criteria is required for the for you to check to load the series into diffusion application. The data is already loaded, so I'm just directly going there to MMV. I'll close it. The series is 10,1. Just click and drag drop the series. It gets displayed in the same way as how it displayed previously when I drag drop the fMRI, but there is a difference between two. I'll tell you what it is. Click on the first series. This scan is not a dynamic scan, but instead we call it as a B value scan. B values are nothing but for a series to be loaded into diffusion application, you need at least 2B values. It can be, in general, it will start from B0I, and after that, it can be any number, B500, B800, B1000. These values are set in this place where they are taking the scan. They have a protocol to be set before taking the scan, and this number will be set before taking the scan. So in general, here, this data has B0I, and to check what is the next value, you have to do a horizontal scroll. I'm doing a horizontal scroll. Can you see there is B800 0? Okay. So this series has two B values. The data, the particular series will not be loaded into diffusion application if you do not have two B values. So this is the basic check for this data. So the series has two B values. Now I will right click, select launch application, click on MR diffusion. So this is a view of the MR diffusion application. So whatever series I selected 10, 1, that has been loaded here in the application. So the same B value will be displayed here. So how do I check the B value in the application is same way. You can also do the horizontal scroll, but we also have an option to check here. Can you see the three dots here? Select on the three dots. There'll be a small pop-up, select B values. So it shows us these are the two B values that is there in the study. There are studies which has more than two B values. So when there are more than two B values, you get an option to check and uncheck them. But since by default a series requires minimum of two B values, you will not be able to check or uncheck them. So when there are three B values, you are allowed to check and uncheck them. That is when you can apply it. Like whichever option you select, after you select it, you can apply it. But since this study has only two B values, you will not be able to uncheck it. It'll be like freezed. This is just to know that there are two B values. One is B0 and one is B800. Any doubts so far? How do you load it? Okay.
What is the specific use of B values actually?
Usman, like if you don't have these B values, these are gradient values, they call it as. If you don't have these B values on the scanned series, the data itself will not be loaded. Because there are many cases comes to us saying that I have a diffusion scan, but the data is not loading it. But when you load it to MMV and C, you will not have the series at all. I mean, sorry, you will not have this B values at all. So if you don't have this B values, no, it will not be loaded to that particular application itself. That is a basic check for that application.
But what is it, the difference between different B values? What make it different?
Uri, it's like for B0, we have it based on the directions. Like there is a specific, what do I say, like B0I, like there are 5 differences, like I, O, S, M, P. So there are 5 directions, like I stands for one direction, O stands for one direction. So when they are taking it, they might scan the series in B0I direction. So the next protocol, the next scan that they are taking is B800 0. It's not 0, it is O. O means oblique. So I means isotropic. So similarly, we have as SMP. So there are 5 directions totally. So when they scan it, they set it. however they want to scan it. Well, once you load it to the applications, towards your left, by default, this would be your viewport. So towards your left would be the series that you loaded, and towards your right hand side, this is your input viewer and this is your output viewer. So in your input viewer is your series that you loaded, and towards your extreme right, you will see the maps. These are all system generated maps in the background, and by default, based upon the series that you load, these maps all will be selected. Okay, so actually there are two things in diffusion application. It might be a little complex to understand, but still uh, you have to know what it is. There are two things. One is DWI and DTI. I will just explain here, but I'm really not sure whether I have a data here. Mm, it's female. Fusion. Okay. I think I have a data here. So first, let me just explain you what is DW and DTI. So can you see something called as fiber track enabled here? So this fiber track is another application which is inside the diffusion application. So this will be enabled only when there is a study which is a DTI study. DTI is nothing but diffusion tensor imaging, and DWI is diffusion weighted imaging. The difference between both is nothing but in a DWI scanned study, you will have only 5 directions in the study. I did a horizontal scroll, right, and you saw there were many directions. Since you have more than 5 directions, this fiber track is enabled here. But in a study which is less than 5 directions, you will not see this fiber track enabled here. There are many cases coming like this asking like fiber track is not enabled. Obviously, fiber track will not be enabled when you have a series which has directions which is less than 5. So fiber track will always be enabled only when there are directions more than 5. One is that. Second thing is, can you see the map names that displayed here? Diffusion tensor maps. These maps will also not be selected and displayed here if it is a DWI study. To show that, I will exit and I will reload another study. I'm exiting this study. There is another study I have. So I'm selecting the series. I'm loading it to diffusion application. So this is a abdomen scan. This is not a brain scan. This study is an abdomen scan. Okay. So I've loaded this study to diffusion. If you see, this fiber track will be disabled here, and this maps will also not be displayed in your output viewer. Only the 5 maps will be, the only this will be selected, and the maps will be corresponding maps will be displayed here. I'll tell you what it is. Just give me a minute to see what the B values. Select here, select the B values, and you have B0 and B800. But if you see the directions, there are only 3 directions. So that is why you are not able to, that is why the fiber track is not enabled here. And this is the DWI data. DWI is diffusion weighted imaging data. For this data, you will not have fiber track getting enabled because the series has only 4 directions. Okay. Any doubts here to identify how, whether it is a DWI or a DTI data?
No.
Here, right?
Yes.
Same can be verified in MMV. You can load it in MMV, check, and then reload it to the application.
Do
Okay.
we use
So,
FiberTrack also other than the brain?
sorry, Yuri, I missed your question.
Is there any use for FiberTrack other than the brain?
Any use of FiberTrack? Sorry.
No. As I know, FiberTrack is only for brain. Is it correct?
No, not like that.
Any other uses there?
I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Nothing like that, Uri. Like FiberTrack is basically for brain only. But here I just wanted to show them the difference. Like
Okay.
whether since I have very limited data in this server, I had only an abdomen data
Okay.
to load it and show. Actually, it is for only brain. But in case if they have a lesser direction, they should be able to differentiate, right? Like why these
Okay.
maps are not selected, why FiberTrack is not getting loaded. Ideally, FiberTrack is for brain data and the direction should be more than 5.
Okay.
That is a
Thank you.
criteria. Okay, so like in diffusion application, so I'll just tell you the basic functionalities. So the maps, the output viewer, if you see towards your left, these are the maps. Um, in general, you have something called as generate series. Click on generate series. You have a small dialog box opens. Any name you can give, test one or something. There are two types. One is secondary capture and one is secondary capture RGB. RGB is nothing but you will get, can you see the lines? I mean, the color scale here. This is called as the RGB. So when you create a secondary capture with RGB, your output will also be coming with this scale. So for now, I'm just giving a secondary capture. Click on generate series. At the bottom, you will see the progress going on. So once the progress is done and says that it saving job completed, it means the generate series has been completed. I'll tell you what, you will get 3 maps as output, one as ADC, one as EADC, and one as ISO map. Tell you what it is. Here in your task guidance, you will see ADC ISO and ADC. It means these two are combined. I'm not going in depth, but I'm just telling you to understand how the maps comes as an output. These two will be combined and it'll get displayed as one map. Same way, these two will be combined as displayed as one map, and this will be displayed as another map. When you click on the series tab, just scroll down, you will see 3 maps, 1, 2, 3. The same thing can be checked on your PD as well. 1, 2, 3 maps. So each map that gets generated will have the name that I gave. I gave it as test 1, and you will have 2 prefixes. One is a prefix to show which map it is. D stands for ADC, E stands for EADC, and ISO stands for the IDWI map. And along with that, the reg keyword will come. It means it is registered in the background. And your uh, series, I mean, the description that you gave, it can be any description that you have given that will be displayed here. This is how, in general, when you generate series, it will come. So in MR diffusion, this is one basic functionality that they will generally generate the series. So before that, I'll tell you the color of the maps. You have 3 options. Click the drop down, you will have blue to red, gray, and loot. So when you select the options, based on the options, the color will change. Loot. So by default, when I loaded, it was in loot. So if you want, you can select whichever color and generate the series. Based on that, it will be generated. Same way, this option is for the map layout. If I select 1 cross 1, it will change to 1 cross 1. If I select 2 cross 2, it will be 2 cross 2. There are 4 options: mirror, flip, rotate clockwise, and rotate counterclockwise. Just see this orientation when I'm doing this. Now I'm just selecting a flip option. So I did a flip and my orientation was changed. It means previously, sorry, I did not tell what it is at the beginning. So the image has this orientation, and by default, the orientation was anterior. I'll just do a reset and I'll. Okay. So by default, when I loaded this study, this was the orientation: anterior on the top, posterior at the below, front, I mean front in the middle, towards your left to right is your right and left. So when I'm doing a flip, so your orientations were getting changed. So if you want to go back to it, click on reset all. It will go back to your old orientation. Okay. So this is scroll, pan, zoom. These are all the basic functionality across all the applications. All these are the basic functionalities, and same way you can save, film, report, bookmark, right click, save images. The same thing can be done with the DTI data. I will also show that. So this is another DTI data. If you see, rich tensor, it's a G data set. So if you see here, FiberTrack is enabled and all these maps will be selected by default. And how do you see the maps here? Select one window and do a horizontal scroll. All your maps will move because it's a 2x2. So it'll go accordingly. And you have an option to check and uncheck the maps. For example, if you don't want this radial diffusity map, I will unselect it. The map will be removed from the viewport. If I want it, I can select it. So again, the map will be displayed in the viewport. The same way, I'm generating a series here. So whatever maps that was selected, that was generated and displayed in the PI, as well as you can also check in the PD. So all will be in the derived format with, just give me a second, I'll drag it on top. So these were the maps. The first one is the ADC map with the prefix D, E, ISO. Similarly, FA stands for fractional anisotropy. FAD, FAD is FAD direction. AD is axial diffusivity. Radial is RD, radial diffusivity, and RA. RA is here. So every map will have a prefix, and whatever you have selected, that will be generated and displayed here. Same way, I'll just place Roy. Any number of Roys can be placed. If you click on the Roy drop down, you will have 5 options like contour, freehand, ellipse, circle. I think these are all like how whichever Roy you want, you can place it. Save, film, report, bookmark, key images are the basic same functionalities. Now, if you want it as a fresh load, the last option, click on the option. You will see 3 options. Click on reset all. It'll go back to your fresh load. I am doing a pan, doing a zoom, reset pan zoom. It'll be reset pan zoom. So this is just a very basic thing of diffusion application. You can play around with it if you have access. Any doubts so far in diffusion application? No, okay. So should I don't know. Any Ashish, you're there in the call? Really not sure if Ashish is there.
It's not there.
Okay. Yeah, he's not there in the call. No, I'm just not sure. Should I really explain about fiber track or how is it? Because they are, I mean, I cannot, it's a too in depth of the application, or just I have to show you how it loads is what I'm not understanding. Fine, probably I'll just tell you what it is and what it does. So this fiber track option will be enabled, as I told you, it will be enabled only for the DTI studies. So for this study, this fiber track option is enabled. So actually what it does is the radiologist or the doctor, fiber track, as the name indicates, when you go to the application, there'll be only one series that will be, I mean, one particular map will be displayed out of the diffusion application, which is called as the FA directional map, something here. So can you see this map? So this is the one map that will be displayed in FiberTrack when you move to FiberTrack. And why only this? Because once you go to FiberTrack, generally they use it. The functionality is what? They will track fibers, save the fibers, and the purpose of doing it is there is something called as they would save a series called as export to surgery. So they will track fibers and save that series just to make sure that when they are doing the surgery they don't remove any required fibers rather than removing the not required fibers. In general, if you see this study, there is a major portion of the brain, something has happened here. Okay, so when you go to that part of the brain, there are many fibers running over the brain. So they have to know what to be removed and what not to be removed. So that is I am just telling it in a very lame perspective. So think in that way. So I'm just clicking on fiber track. So this is my, I don't, one second. So this is my fiber track view. This is how it will be displayed. In ISP, we give around 11 fibers to be tracked. Okay, there is a guidance also to try how to track it. In general, that the basic thing, like if at all, if you have to check something in fiber track, it should be a DTI data loaded to diffusion. You see the fiber track is enabled, click on fiber track, this screen should be displayed, and this is the generic view of the fiber track. This is the input view, and towards your right hand side you will have three reference views. We call this as reference view, and there is particular name for these reference view. So the first reference view is called as an axial view. The middle one is called as an coronal view. The third one is called as a sagittal view. As the name indicates, the starting letter of the name, A, S, C. A stands for axial, S stands for sagittal view, and C stands for the coronal view. If you see the orientations, it will indicate that, like I mean, if it is a visual, like if we are in the training room, I would be able to explain you like how the scan is taken, but now it's difficult for me to explain, but you have to understand how it is taken. So axial scan is nothing but you're taking from top. So sagittal is nothing but towards your kind of um, side, and your coronal is nothing but towards your back. Your head is towards your back. So that is how the scans are taken. In your input view, that view can be changed just by selecting these three alphabets A, S, and C. So this is by default in a axial view. If you select S, it will be sagittal view. If you select C, it will be in coronal view. I'm going back to my axial view. So this is just to know what are the three views. So what happens here is simply they will just track a fiber, save a fiber. Basic. So now I'll just show you how to track a fiber. There are two ways to track a fiber. One is the multi-ROI manual tracking. One is single ROI auto tracking. This is nothing but you will be able to place only one ROI. So I will select a smoothen contour. Anywhere I will just draw a ROI. Double click on the ROI and the fiber will be tracked. Can you see something displayed like a bluish thing behind the ROI? That is a fiber. That is a fiber that is running on the brain. So I will show you how to track a multi-ROI. I'm selecting a contour, placing a ROI. If I want to track it, I have to click on the track fiber. Fiber will be tracked. I will show you how do you do it with the multi. I've placed one ROI. I want to add one more ROI. I'm selecting another ROI, placing another ROI. Click on track fiber. Fiber will be tracked. So this is that. I mean, you can just track the fibers. Once you've tracked it, you can click on save all fibers. Any name you can give, FT1 or whatever. Save all fibers. Once it is saved, go to the PD. You will see the name, whatever you have given, it will be saved here. The same operations, save, film, report, bookmark, key images. I'm not going very in depth. It will be like too much if I do that. So any questions here in FiberTrack? Just a very basic thing I have told.
Yep, not from my end.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions here? Because okay. So I will just exit. I will tell about another application, which is the T1 perfusion application. So in general, the T1 perfusion application, uh, usually we will handle the breast scans and the brain and the abdomen. But now I have a breast scan. So the T1 perfusion application, how do you load it and what do you in general see on the application? Basic functionality. So I have a data set already imported and kept. So select the data. In the analysis, similarly, select the drop down. You will see something called as MRT1 perfusion. Select the application. So the one basic criteria for you to load it to T1 Perfusion application is, as I told you, let me load the study to MMV as well. Okay, so this is a study, and if you for T1 perfusion also, it should be a dynamic scan. So how do you see it? This DT indicates it's a dynamic scan, and the basic criteria for the series to be loaded into T1 perfusion is the dynamic should be more than 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has 6. So when it is more than 4, obviously it will be loaded into the T1 perfusion application. So maybe I will. So from the PD I loaded the same way I will show you how it loads from MMV. Right click, launch application, T1 perfusion. Okay. So the T1 perfusion application, this is a view of the application. In general, it will be 2x2. Towards your left hand side would be the task guidance. Same way, these are the default 4 things will be across all the applications. And on top, you will have the similar ones, like as I told you, the color of the maps, the map layout, and this is the viewer layout. This one thing is additional here. This is a viewer layout, and same way all the other measurements and functionalities, and save film report and bookmark. So the first screen, I mean the first layout, this is our input. And towards your rightmost, these are the maps. Maps as such, these are the 9 maps selected here. These are the 9 maps by default for any study it will come. This application does not have any criteria as such, which I told for diffusion and fiber track. So these are the 9 maps that will be displayed by default here. And towards the below, you will have 2 boxes. One is your graph view, one is your anatomical view. It will be blank unless and if you drag drop some series here, it'll not, nothing will be displayed here. Same way, towards your left below your input viewer, you will have 3 tabbed views. One is called as a subtracted view. This will generate by default and will be displayed. Another one is a table view and the anatomical view. By default, these two will be blank unless and if you drag drop some series here. So I'll tell you the table view. I mean, the basic thing I'll tell you. Same way you can generate series. When you generate series, all the 9 maps will be generated and displayed there. You can place ROIs. So when I place a ROI, in diffusion application, the ROI was a different measurement. Like when you placed it, it showed you the area, standard deviation, and everything upon the ROI placed. But here, when I place a ROI, you will see a table getting displayed for each of the map, and the value corresponding values will be displayed here. So in T1 perfusion application, the maximum number of ROIs that can be placed is 10. So after 10, this icon will be disabled. I will show you that as well. And one more important information that I forgot to tell you is any data sets that you load into MR application. For example, there's something called a slice displayed here. So the slice will show you that we are currently on the 74th slice slash 139, means this series has 139 slices and we are currently on the 74th slice. In your keyboard, when you do a vertical scroll, like forward, backward, your slice will increase and decrease. One is that. Second thing is, any data sets that you load will always load on the mid plus one slice. For example, 139. So half of 139, half of 139, 139 divided by 2 is your 70, approximately 70. So it should load at 71st slice. So when you load the study, it should be in the 71st slice. That is by default. At the background, it is the same for all the studies. For example, if you're loading a study with 60 slices, so half of 60 is 31. The slice displayed should be 31. Okay. So I will show you. I have placed 3 rows. I'll show you 10 rows so that automatically. So as soon as I place 10 rows, if you see this row will go disabled. So maximum rows that can be placed is 10 for this application. So now I'm just clicking on generate series. Same way, I'm just giving a name. So it has been saved. Saving. So when you go to the PD, you will see all the maps getting generated. Same way in your application, select on the series. So maps will also be generated and displayed in your PI. Okay. And then I will do a save display. Same way you can do a save selected, and in this application you will have something called as save all tables. The table is nothing but the results table that is displayed here. So when you select that, it automatically goes to non-DICOM. Non-DICOM is nothing but you'll have 4 options: HTML, text, and CSV. Text is Notepad, HTML. CSV is nothing but a Excel sheet. So if I select, for example, text, I have to browse. As in name thrive to, okay. So I selected the path. When I click on save, this table should be saved there. So if you go and select your C drive, I saved it here only, right? Yeah, dear. Table tables, browse, C drive, under clientele, the important updates. Okay. Save. C drive, important updates. Can you see this is the table that I saved? So you can cross check with the values whether your saved table has the same values as the application. So the basic functionality is only this: ROIs, tables, generating the series, save film report, bookmark key images. That's it. Any questions here? Anything that you want to know here?
No,
Can I
we
move
can
to
go
the,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Can I move to the next application? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll exit. Yeah, one more thing that I forgot to tell. So like the ROIs that I placed, right? So the ROIs that I placed and everything, it will be saved as a presentation state for this application. Because the ROIs that I placed are application ROIs. Okay. In diffusion, the ROIs that I placed are measurement ROIs. So those ROIs will not be saved as your presentation state, but here whatever I saved will be saved as a presentation state because they are application ROIs. So I'm just relaunching the study to show you what it is. So when I'm relaunching the same series to the application, I should get back all the 10 ROIs that I placed, and also the state of the application should be the same way that how I left. So now if you see the table, I should have all the 10 ROIs that I placed, as well as if I have zoomed and panned, like for example, like I have zoomed and panned the application. When I exit the application, when I relaunch it, it should be in the same state as how I left it, which is called as a presentation state, PS. We call it as PS. Okay. And one more thing, for when I'm freshly loading the study. So when I loaded this study, I had only the two series, the first and the second, the breast and the SPERF. Both are the original series. So from the original, when I generate series, a registered series will be generated from my original series. That is nothing but it will showcase as reg hyphen the original series. Post that only my maps will be generated. In case if you already have a registered series, from the registered series, my map will be generated. Okay. I will exit the study. So next, okay, I have another 10 minutes. I will go for permeability application. Okay, so permeability also basically handles the brain scan. Brain scan, the data can be loaded only if the study has two reference angles. I'll show you what it is. Can you see here reference underscore 5, reference underscore 15? So in this study, to load the particular series into the permeability application, you should have something called as two reference angles. If you don't have these reference angles, you will not be able to load the study into permeability application. I will show you. This series is applicable for the application. I'm selecting that. One second. I'm selecting that particular series. I'm selecting the two reference angles and I'm loading it into drop down permeability. So the application is loaded. This is also a similar view as how you saw it in T1, but there is a small difference. I'm just giving a reset all. I want to have a fresh view. So this is the same view that you saw in the T1 perfusion application, but you will have different maps here, not the same maps that you saw there. There you will have 9 maps, but here you will have only 6 maps. These are all predefined algorithms. And you will also have one more thing here, something called as show mirror line and contralateral ROIs. Can you see the input view? Can you see a line here? This line is the show mirror line. And I'll tell you why it is. So now I'm placing a ROI. I'll just scroll 1 second. So now I see there's something wrong in in the image brain. So I'm going to place a ROI here. So this is the difference which you see from T1 and permeability. Functionality wise, not clinically, I'm not explaining anything. So if you see here, when I placed one ROI, automatically you will get a parallel ROI. That is, this is your left side of the brain, this is your right side of the brain. I'm placing a ROI here and you will get a contralateral ROI towards your left side of the brain. Okay, so that is why you have this line. If I uncheck this, the line will also go. And now when I'm placing a ROI, I will get only one ROI. You will not get the parallel ROI towards it. So this is one difference apart from the T1 perfusion application. But everything else is the same. Place the ROIs. ROIs will be displayed here. Same thing, maximum of 10 ROIs. You can generate the series. I will generate here. So generate series will happen and it will be shown at the bottom. So once generate series is done, same way like save, film, report, key images, bookmark, all are the same functionalities. The only difference is that these two options, and you will also not have the subtracted view getting here as a tabbed view. You will only have the table view, anatomical viewer. Same way you will have a graph viewer and anatomical viewer. I'll show you how to drag drop series for the anatomical viewer. I showed you, right? There were two reference angles. So I can drag drop the reference angles here. When you drag drop the reference angles here, whatever ROIs that you have placed on your input viewer, that will get propagated everywhere. Everywhere in sense all the other three views. So when I place a ROI on my input view, it will be getting propagated to my maps as well as to my reference views. As well as to my anatomical viewers. So now I can save a bookmark, for example. I will save a bookmark. Same way, I have the color maps. You can change it. All the functionalities are, or I mean, both has the similar functionalities. Any doubts here?
No.
Okay, so like for now, it's I've covered around like diffusion, fiber track, fMRI, T1, and permeability. There are few more applications. Maybe first, I think these are the major applications in MR. So maybe first you have to, get hold of the demo data sets and use them in this particular application. I'll show you what data sets can be used from the demo data. If at all I have it here, these are in the demo folder. For T1 perfusion, type T1. They are not there actually. So if you type T1, you will have three data sets, two brain and one breast. So you can use any of those data sets. Same way, for permeability also, you will have three, but here I can see only one. So you can use this data set in the permeability application, load the data sets, and the same way, whatever I tried to show you, just play around. You will get to understand what the functionalities are. Next, for diffusion, you should load star I15. It is not there. Star I. Okay, star I. You can choose this data set, star I30TX, export to surgery, but just load this data set. In this data set, you should use this series. By default, if you load, it will take this series only to the study to MR diffusion. So load this and just play around with that. And the above two series can be loaded into fMRI. Load it into fMRI and just do those functionalities, whatever I was trying to explain. So any questions so far? Hopefully, I think you guys understood those applications, and these are the basic functionalities. So whatever data sets that I showed you, just try those data sets. I think it will be, like if you play around it, you should be able to understand it. So maybe if at all I get a chance, I think we can also have another sync up. I mean, once you go through them, you can make a note of all the questions or queries that you have. So maybe we can have another sync up to clarify all those queries. And if I get another chance, maybe I can cover another 3 or 4 applications, but I don't think so now I'll be able to. It's already 4:02. So yes, MMV and these applications, I think you can go through all of them and just note down all your queries. We can sync up again later. Anything that I mean, any queries or any small doubts that you have? Okay, I'll take it as a no. Uri, I can exit the call, right? Or
Yes.
somebody else, I mean, Ashish or somebody will come, right? Usman?
Yeah, generally, but I think Bharata is busy in some other meeting maybe.
Yeah. We have a release happening. Yeah.
Aarti seems to be, it's a 30 minutes break is there
Break,
from
is
4 to
it?
4:30.
Now 4 to 4:30, they
Uh,
have a break, no?
a
Or,
tea break is there.
Shashi?
Once it is
Okay.
done, we'll
NM,
pitch in for
you will
NM
take over.
applications, a demo on all the applications of NM.
Okay, cool. So I
Guys,
think,
then meet you by 4:30 then. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you all.
So,
No
thanks,
problem.
Great
Aarti.
session and wonderful. It's a big session you have taken. Thank you, Arti.
No, actually, 2 hours is not sufficient for MMV alone, but they have given 2 hours to explain the entire MMV and MR apps. I was feeling so, like I was
Understand.
not
It is
feeling,
not an easy. In
it's
2 hours, you
I don't know
cannot
how
cover the
to
entire MR
explain
portfolio
Kashi.
in
Yeah,
ICAP. Yeah.
seriously, I was feeling it so difficult how they will take it. I mean, we know it, right? So I was feeling it so uncomfortable to explain MMV itself like a gist. and somehow in 2 hours I've given them, but fine. I think we should have multiple sessions, so maybe going forward we should be able to cover. So
Okay.
anyways, thank you guys. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Aarti.
Bye.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Aarti.